Hey everyone, this is Neon. Welcome to Impromptu English with Neon. It's been such a long time, huh? But yeah, I've been busy. Real life happens. But today I'm here with you for a video, for an educational video about phrases. So English phrases. So today I'm going to take you through the basic definition of phrases, what makes phrases per se, and also the types of phrases, the main types of phrases, and also some practice examples. Alright, so let's get started. Definition. A phrase is a group of words that can stand on its own. This means that a phrase can be something like, so I've given some examples: going to school, driving a car, a hand with 6 fingers, 2 cars on the way, in the city, a red truck, and even as big of a phrase as going on a trip with a bunch of friends who had not gone there before. Alright, so looking at these examples, what do we have in common? Can we find any pattern? So yes, of course, we do find some patterns. So in the above examples, the group of words, and they can be small, like 2 words, for example, 2 cars. So that's an example of a phrase which has 2 words. There can be other examples as well, like 2 fingers, going there, coming home. So these are also phrases, and phrases can also be quite big, especially the last example. I deliberately gave an example where there are a lot of words. Like, how many words are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. So, and they can also be much longer than this if we want to go even longer, and they are not separate, such as the following examples. Okay, so the second list you can see on the screen. So these are examples of words that do not, I repeat, that do not form phrases. So examples: goes to, running in the, joking with a yellow, junior salesman who. Okay, so I think you guys get it, because these words, these are also more than 2 words, or at least 2 words, but they are not called phrases. Why? Because they are incomplete, because they do not make sense on their own. A phrase also needs to be more than 1 word long. So for example, table, car. So these words, table, car, goes, scares, we, red, blue, go, win, lose. So they are also well-meaning words, like they have complete meanings in themselves, but they are not phrases. Why? Because they have only 1 word. They are consisting of only 1 word. So that is why we cannot call them phrases. So what criteria do we have for phrases to be phrases? It's just very simple. It has to be more than 1 word long, and it has to have a complete meaning by itself. So to clarify the second part, the words goes to, it's incomplete. Like, we have a question on our mind. Goes to where? Goes to a city, goes to Dhaka, goes to home. Like, even though before home there is no to. Also, running in the what? Running in the area, running in the hall, running in the dash. So it's not complete. Joking with a, so the fourth example, a yellow. So if it was just yellow, then it would make sense, because there is no need for a noun after yellow. But if the article a is there, then there needs to be a noun or a noun phrase. All right, so it could be a yellow car, a yellow toy, right, a yellow building. So it could be a lot of things, but if there is no word subsequent to yellow, I mean a yellow, then it's not a complete phrase. Also, junior salesman who what, who does that, who is sick, who is tall, who is absent today, right? So it's incomplete. I think you guys get it. So there are a lot of different types of phrases. So I have compiled 7. I have listed 7 phrases, although there are more. So of course there are noun phrases, verb phrases, adjective phrases, adverb phrases, preposition phrases, participle phrases, and infinitive phrases. So as I said, there are more, like gerund phrases. There are appositives. So they are also phrases, but let's just talk about these 7. All right, so they're more common and they are easier to grasp, I think, for you guys. All right, so let's go to some exercises now. Carrying, so giving some preface. So the underlined parts of these sentences, of each of these sentences, the underlined parts, so they are it can come in the question. It's just for your understanding, like this underlined portion represents a noun phrase. But why is that? Because carrying dash, Tom slowly disappeared into a distance. Carrying what? Carrying a white sack thrown over his shoulders. Alright, so what was Tom carrying when he slowly disappeared into the distance? He carried something. He was carrying something. So whenever it is something or someone, so it is always a concept, or it is always a thing, it is always a someone. So whenever it is either a concept, a something, or someone, it is always a noun or a noun phrase. So if it's just a single word, it's a noun, and if it's more than one word, and if it makes complete sense on its own, as we talked about the 2 criteria above, if it satisfies those 2 criteria, then it is called a noun phrase, not a single noun. To make it easier for you even further, if I would have said carrying like a baby, right? Tom slowly disappeared into this distance. It could also be a correct sentence. So if I would have said carrying Josh, another person, maybe it's a baby carrying Josh, Tom slowly disappeared into the distance, it would be something like Josh is a baby, or Josh is maybe a very young child, maybe 3 or 4 year child, and Tom is carrying Josh and he disappeared into the distance. So it can be any noun or proper noun, right? Or it could even be a preposition, a pronoun, carrying him, carrying her, carrying them, right? So it's always a noun phrase. All right, so the second sentence, the second example, vowing never to procrastinate again, comma, Jeremy cried over his history exam. So what happened here? So Jeremy cried because, or over his history exam. Why? Because, or no, not why, but after he vowed, which is promised himself, never to procrastinate again. So procrastinate means to leave things off for later, to not do things right now and leave it for later. So Jeremy was crying because he probably did bad in his history exam, and he promised himself that he will never procrastinate again. That's the meaning of the sentence. But why is this a verb phrase? So look at the first word of this phrase, vowing, which is promising himself, or promising, you can say. So promising, not promise. If it was something like promise, a promise, then it would be a noun, but it's a verb here, like promising himself, like vowing. So it's a verb. So it's a shortcut for you to use in 90% of the cases, give or take 90%, 92%, 93% of the cases. If you just look at the first word or first 2-3 words, then you will know the answer of the phrases. Even when you go to number 1, a white sack. So it's what? It's a white sack. So it's a noun phrase, right? But it could be sometimes confusing, because why? Because white is an adjective, right? So you could have been confused about whether writing noun phrase or an adjective phrase. So my suggestion is to understand the meaning of the sentences as well. So here, vowing never to procrastinate again. He did something. What did he do? What did he do? He vowed. He was vowing never to procrastinate again. Number 3, to be or not to be, that is the question. So this is a very, very, very famous line from Shakespeare's Hamlet, by Prince Hamlet. So it's one of the soliloquies, one of the first, it was actually the first line. So why is it an infinitive phrase? So that's because of the word to. It's a preposition, to, right? But it's a special type of preposition when it comes to phrases. So it's not a preposition phrase, but it's an infinitive phrase. Whenever you see the word to in the beginning of any phrase, any underlined portion of a sentence, that's an infinitive phrase. Okay, Next one, stronger than anyone I have ever met, comma, Jackie mowed through the competition. Should be a full stop here. So this is an adjective phrase. Why is that? Because what's an adjective? An adjective modifies a noun so, or a pronoun. So than anyone. So who was stronger than anyone? Jackie, right? And stronger than what? Anyone. So this entire thing is modifying Jackie. Like it's a quality of Jackie's. Jackie was what? Jackie was stronger than anyone I have ever met. All right. So that's why it's an adjective phrase. Also look at the first word, stronger. The word strong, stronger, these are adjectives. So again, by using the shortcut, you can understand the phrase. If you know the parts of speech, which is of course strong is an adjective, so you will know that it's an adjective phrase. Next one, the jar was dangerously placed near the corner of the table. Okay, so this might be a little bit different because participle, it's not a part of speech. But why is it a participle phrase, not a verb phrase? Because it's a passive verb, you can say. So it's not like a jar, the jar did something. Like a jar did not place itself or did not place other things. A jar cannot do anything. It was placed. It did not place itself or it did not place another thing, another person. So it did not itself do something. That's why it's not a verb. So whenever it's a passive verb like place, we know that placing something or placed something, placed someone, it's a verb. But here it's in the passive, so it's the participle. So it's a participle phrase. Number 6, Jerry scrambled into the hole before Tom could catch him. So into is a preposition. Everybody knows that into is a preposition, and since it's the first word of this phrase, so that's why it's a preposition phrase. Okay, so I think you all get it about how to differentiate between phrases. You just look at the first word, and for most of your attempts it will be the correct answer. So let me go to some exception cases. Look at this. Number 12, he learned horse riding on his summer vacation. On, so on is actually a preposition, right? In, on, at. So on is a preposition, but it is not a preposition phrase. Why so? That is because on does not refer to a place, right? It's not referring to a position like preposition. Look at the word preposition. So it's about a position, or like he is here, he's riding in the street, he's coming here, like he is sitting on the chair, right? On, in, at, he's at the university. So it's not a position, but it's an adverb, right? It's an adverb of what? Adverb of time, place. So he was riding what? He learned horse riding when? On his summer vacation. So it's an adverb, an adjective of time. Alright, so that's why it's an adjective phrase. So horse riding is a noun, and it's this part is modifying this noun or noun phrase. So that's why it's an adjective phrase. So that was an exception. So again, when you see the word to, it's always an infinitive phrase. And also look at this, number 10. Katie, desperately wanting to win the race, resorted to cheating. So this is also called another type of phrase, which is an appositive. Okay, but let's leave appositives for the moment. Let's just call it an adverb phrase. Why? Of course, there's an ly here, so that's why it's an adverb phrase. Whenever we see an ly, beautifully, quickly, right? So it's always an adverb. So since it's the first word of this phrase, I've underlined the portion. So this portion is called an adverb phrase. So this is another appositive, which is separated between two commas. So Delphi, my next door neighbor, is a cruel man. So you can read the sentence like this: Delphi is a cruel man. And the middle portion, the appositive or the addition, is just describing Delphi. So it's not modifying like it's just describing who Delphi is, right? My next door neighbor. So it's a noun phrase because the word neighbor is here. Whereas here, there is no noun here. It's just desperately wanting to win the race. Katie, like it's not like Katie, comma, a 12-year-old, comma, resorted to cheating. If it was something like, let's write it, Katie, comma, a 12-year-old girl, comma, resorted to cheating. If it was something like this, and this part was, if it was underlined, then it would have been what? A noun phrase. Do you get it? But here it's not actually a noun here in this phrase, in this underlined portion. So that's why, since the word ly was here in the first, as the first word, it's an adverb phrase. Again, here is another example of a preposition used, like in, at, on. These are prepositions, but here it's not actually a preposition phrase, it's an adverb phrase because it's not referring to a position. So that's why it's an adverb phrase. In such a manner. In what manner? In such a manner. Alright? So in such a manner is an adjective, and in such a manner it's modifying this. Like behave. In such a manner is modifying the word behave. Behave is what? Is of course a verb. So whenever any verb is modified, what do we call it? Do we call it an adjective? No, we don't. We call it an adverb. So you can even see from the word adverb itself, add verb. So it's adding to the verb, right? So again, this is another example of a participle phrase. The stuntman looked like a mummy, bandaged from head to toe. So we can write which was bandaged, right? Which was bandaged from head to toe. So again, this bandaged part is not something that the stuntman or the mummy did, but it was bandaged. It's not like it bandaged itself or it bandaged other people, other things, but it was bandaged itself, right? So it's a passive verb. So whenever a passive verb is there, it's a participle. Here it's specifically a position type of thing, so it's a prepositional phrase, not a an adverb phrase like here, because actually a position is meant here on the wall. Okay, so I think you guys get it. Another just small nuanced thing you should consider is that look at the difference between 20 and 21. Tomorrow morning, comma, I will be departing for Chittagong. So this is an adverb phrase because tomorrow, yesterday, last week, next year, 12 years ago, a decade ago. So whenever a time frame is given, it's an adverb or an adverb phrase. So tomorrow morning, comma, I will be departing for Chittagong. So it's an adverb phrase because it's. And then 21, tomorrow morning is my leisure. So it's like something is my leisure or some time is my leisure. What is that? It's tomorrow morning. So it's here, it's not like my leisure. So it's acting as a noun or a noun phrase here. Let me give you another example. I will go to Dhaka tomorrow. Here, tomorrow, here it's what? Tomorrow is an adverb, but here if I write tomorrow is my holiday, then here it's not an adverb but it's actually a noun. Like what is my holiday or when is my holiday? It's a thing, it's a concept, it's not a person, it's a thing, so it is something, so that's why it's a noun. But I will go to Dhaka when? Tomorrow. It's not a thing, it's a matter of when, right? So that's the difference between how the same word can be used in different ways. So before wrapping off the video, I'd just like you to consider, if I had not underlined this portion of the sentence, if I had underlined just this portion, white sack or even thrown over his shoulders, what would be the answer? It would be a participle phrase because it's not like a white sack throwed something or throwed itself, but it was thrown. It's a passive verb, so it would be a participle phrase. Okay, so what about if I had not underlined thrown over his shoulders but only over his shoulders? It would be a prepositional phrase because the word over is there, it's a preposition. What about if I had just underlined this part, so it'd be a pronoun which is a noun phrase, right? So if I underline any part of the sentence, you should be able to get it. So if I just consider underlining this part, convert it into a Muslim. What's this part? It's a verb phrase because the first word is a verb. What about if I underline this part, at the age of 21? It's a what? It's an adverb phrase, right? What about this one? The most honest human being. It's a noun phrase because a noun is there. But if I just underline this part, most honest, so what is this? It's an adverb phrase because the word honest is an adjective and the word most is modifying the word the adjective, which is an adverb. What about to cheating? This part, this is an infinitive phrase, right? Alright guys, so I think you guys get it. So this is it for today.